Constructing the Olympics is a huge challenge, that in order to successfully deliver the Olympics, you would have to mobilize your nation as if you were going to war.
Every 4 years, the world comes together to watch the Summer Olympic Games. With the display of world-class athleticism, the spectacle of traditions, and construction of enormous stadiums, each Olympics proves to be a mega-project that unites the world together in sport. In 2012, London hosted the Games for the third time in its history. And today, 5 years later after the Games were held, we reflect on how this mega-project came together, how it impacted various stakeholders, and how the future Olympics can learn from the London 2012 Summer Olympic Games. With over 30 venues used, the 2012 Summer Olympic Games primarily took place in London, with some events held in other parts of the UK. A multitude of organizations were involved in defining, planning, executing, and delivering the Games. The IOC, or the International Olympic Committee, is the overarching international body responsible for leading the Olympic movement and strategies. Nationally, the Olympic Delivery Authority and London Organizing Committee were the two agencies responsible for the entirety of the project life cycle. Both agencies were led by Lord Coe, who was a key factor in preparing for the Olympic bid and spearheading the project management of the Olympics. With the construction of many venues and infrastructure going on simultaneously, extensive integration and strong leadership were crucial to ensure effective coordination of all efforts. The ODA appointed CLM, a consortium of 3 major construction companies, to serve as a delivery partner of the product and program management and delivery of the venues and infrastructure for the 2012 Games. The IOC's strategic purpose for all Olympics is to host an inspirational Games. For the 2012 Olympics, a key focus was on integrating sustainability into every aspect of the project. The national organizers, LOC and ODA, worked hand in hand to implement the IOC strategy while aligning with London's best interests. The project fit with the UK's overarching economic, sporting, environmental, and social strategies. The specific objectives were to create a legacy of sport and to be known as a sporting nation, protecting the environment through green energy practices and promoting the regeneration and sustainable development in East London. Many technologies and processes were utilized to deliver an efficient and sustainable Games. The Olympic Stadium was constructed using more than 50% recycled materials, a fabric roof, and only 10,000 tons of steel, creating the lightest, most flexible, and sustainable Olympic Stadium in history. Part of the successes the London Games project experienced was because of the planning and organizing that took place before they even broke ground. They created a detailed planning process in which a comprehensive baseline was developed in 2007, which defined the scope, specifications, and initial budget across the whole program. Project monitoring processes were created so each project was required to provide detailed information on progress, budget position, future programming, etc. on a monthly basis to keep things moving in the right direction. The organizers also implemented fixed price contracts to incentivize all contractors to stay within their budget. Problem resolution processes made sure time was taken to identify, explore, and evaluate options to work towards the best solution. For example, this led to the change in roof structure. Change management processes ensured any significant change had to be reviewed by a change board, chaired by the ODA. This process was instrumental in resolving contentious issues before they got to a point where things became confrontational. Integration processes created a smoother way to integrate the various elements of infrastructure, such as utilities interspersed throughout the park. As for technological advances, biomass boilers were used to burn wood chips and other sustainable fuels to supply heating and cooling to buildings throughout the Olympic Park. Engie, the French company that won the bid to power the Olympic Park, has since emerged as the UK's largest district energy player and also one of the biggest energy and faculty management companies. The most important priority for all parties involved in the planning, execution, and delivery of the Games was quality of buildings and safety for all staff, athletes, and spectators. With the entire world watching, one mistake from poor performance would likely be disastrous. With fixed dates for the opening ceremony and strictly scheduled times for each sport and competition, the completion of the project on schedule was highly important. Additionally, there was incentives to finish early as it would open up time for performance testing and risk management strategies. While there were measures in place to stay on budget and keep expenses down, the project organizers were willing to accept costs. Groups that need to be consulted have high influence and high interest, while the people who need to be informed have medium to high interest but low influence. We consult those whose opinions are sought, and with whom there is a two-way communication. The groups we would consult include the local governments, IOC and associated committees, sponsors, and the media. Without the cooperation of local governments, licensing, building permits, road construction, and so much more would have been extremely difficult or impossible to do. All the sponsors played a different role and had different motivators for wanting the games to be a success. Acer, who was the official computing equipment sponsor, helped the Olympic Games run flawlessly while having their brand represented. As such, they needed to be closely connected to ensure smooth transition between organization and delivery. The media platform plays a major role in the airing of different events throughout the Games. It is utilized not only to promote the Olympic Games, but also the host cities. The Olympics is an event that many anticipate impatiently every 4 years, held in a world-class stadium and participated by what we only consider as world-class athletes. As a result, there are many potential risks that can occur prior, during, and after the event. Unexpected events that occurred during the 2012 Olympic project are as follows. There was a terrorist attack in London in 2011 prior to the Games, which brought concerns around the world. Heavy rains occurred right before the Games, so additional work needed to be done to clean up. Taxi drivers protested against the Games-only lanes, which limited traffic flow. In addition, the train system, also known as the Tube, broke down a few times during this event. Financial risk is experienced by all host cities as they are required to spend billions of dollars hosting this world-class event. There is no guarantee that the costs will be recovered through stadium seat sellout, sponsorship, and stimulation of the local economy. In addition to this, as a group, we have identified 3 risks and ranked them on a failure mode and effect analysis chart. For all risks, we have added mitigation strategies and contingency plans. The 2012 London Olympics was considered a massive success. We can validate this with budget, schedule, quality, and shareholder satisfaction. The project was budgeted at £9.29 billion, but the actual cost was £8.77 billion. Thus, the project was delivered under budget. ODA spending included program delivery, tax, and interest, as well as the building of the Paralympic and Olympic villages. Other spending included UK and international tourism marketing, in addition to police, army, and security services for international delegates. This project officially began its planning in 2005, as every Olympics is given 7 years to complete the project. This mega project was completed 486 days before the opening ceremonies. This means the project was able to stay on schedule, sometimes even ahead of schedule, due to the proper process creation during the planning stages. When assessing quality, we had a few questions. Did the Games achieve the green standard? The 2012 Olympics were able to keep their commitment to sustainability by utilizing recycling programs during the Games, encouraging public transportation, along with walking and biking. Did we see a prolonged improvement in the activity of other groups? For a lasting impact, the government and Games promoted a healthy, active, and sustainable lifestyle through social responsibility. Overall, the stakeholders are becoming more satisfied with the London 2012 Olympic legacy. Permanent infrastructures are now being used for world-class events such as the 2015 Rugby World Cup. In addition, tourism and GDP has increased, while some infrastructure is now being used for low-income housing. Although the improved transportation lines, such as a new branch to East London, is appreciated today, During the Games, there was a lack of communication to some stakeholders regarding traffic and road usage, causing a lot of frustration. Overall, stakeholder satisfaction was satisfactory and could be improved. Any successful project has its share of strengths and weaknesses. The aspects that were well executed contribute to the overall success of the Olympics, while things that were poorly done led to the criticism and dissent from various stakeholders. One key strength of the Olympics is its successful project planning and management. This led to the early completion of infrastructures, having expenditures below the budget and high-quality games. Another key strength of the Olympics is the strong focus on a project with no white elephants. By clearly defining this as an objective, the London 2012 Olympics eliminated unnecessary components of the project. This resulted in London having the most temporary structures of any Olympic Games. It left a positive legacy in the UK, with all the permanent Olympic buildings currently being used for athletic training and recreation. The committee relied on practices that were tried and tested to meet their key objectives. By learning from the mistakes and successes of previous Olympics, the London 2012 became an inspiration for project management. However, the London Olympics also faced setbacks that were the consequences of poor decision and missteps. One weakness is the poorly forecasted pressures on transportation and a lack of communication with stakeholders. Because of this, London faced heavier than expected traffic and congestion in tube lines. Local motorists were told to get off the roads, and cab drivers protested against the specialized Olympic Games lanes reserved only for Olympic personnel. Another weakness is the inability to set realistic and clearly defined environmental sustainability goals. The Games faced criticism from the media as some of the ambitious targets, such as zero carbon emissions, were not met despite the overarching goals to be the greenest and most sustainable Olympics ever. Lastly, the London 2012 Olympics did not deliver on their commitment regarding employment. The committee promised 20,000 short and long-term jobs for residents in the host community. However, less than half the jobs promised were actually provided. Many residents voiced their dissatisfaction and pointed out London's lack of commitment in following through with their promises. We suggest the following: leverage key learnings from previous Olympics or projects, continue developing temporary structures and utilize existing infrastructure which can be used for future Olympics, saving time and money. Investing in relationships with stakeholders to understand their influence and manage their expectations, as well as set projects up for success by establishing clear and attainable objectives. Otherwise, a project fails before it even starts. With strong leadership, clear strategy, and the implementation of these recommendations, future Olympic hosts will be afforded the opportunity to reach new heights and deliver successful, meaningful, and inspirational projects.